The recording is in progress. There we go, folks. Welcome to our autumn tree ID workshop just for students on the complete tree ID course at the pro and expert level. So welcome to everybody who's joined us tonight. We'll just stick us onto gallery mode so we can see that there are real people watching from all over the UK and Ireland. So welcome, folks. Really nice to see you all. Some familiar faces, students that have been with us maybe even 2 years, I think, some of you guys, and then people who are fairly new too, which is great. So it's really nice to see everybody in the room. We are going to get on. We're talking about autumn trees. I'm James. Hopefully you guys know me and have seen my face in various woodlands, in various weathers around the country. And we're going to talk about all kinds of stuff tonight. It's going to be good. It's been a nice autumn so far. We've had a lovely couple of days. I was just talking before we started recording that it's been a bit funny for wild food this year. It's been good, but a lot of stuff came early. There was a big first flush of mushrooms weeks ago, and now they all seem to be coming up again, certainly in our area. And we had some lovely parasol mushrooms at the weekend on our foraging walk, which we've dried now in the dehydrator. And we've just dried a load of crabapple as well. So lots of good stuff out there at the minute, folks. Good year for damsons as well. Seen a lot of them around this year. And actually, this autumn, I've also decided to add an extra tree onto the course, and that's wild plums, which damsons is bundled in with. So that's been filmed, and that'll be coming as soon as we can get around to it. But there'll be an extra tree for expert students coming soon, which will be kind of damsons, wild plum, bullace, and everything in between. Right, let's start with what we're doing tonight. Let's go through what we'll be up to. I'll get the presentation up. There it is. Let's go into slideshow mode. Let's go on to here. Here we go. Okay, welcome to the autumn workshop. As I said, this is just for you students. Let's talk about what we're going to be doing tonight. Bit of a welcome, as we're doing now. Giving you a course update as well. Then we're going to do an autumn picture quiz, which is just for fun, just to see where you're at with pictures from the course and beyond of kind of UK common and native trees. Then I've got some questions that people have sent in advance that they wanted answered. I'm going to answer those burning questions tonight with a few pictures. There will be time for an open Q&A later as well, for if anyone just wants to ask me something. We're going to be looking at a few new trees in autumn as well. So we're going to be going through some of those, some photos that I've taken over this autumn. And then also talking about which leaves fall first and which leaves fall last, which is interesting because when you're looking at trees from a distance, that can be really useful for kind of pegging what it might be, especially if things are already in leaf all around or everything else has already dropped. Then if we get time, we'll have a look at top 10 trees to forage. And I'll tell you about some more good stuff that's coming from us as well. But it's just been really nice to see everybody continuing to use the Facebook community group page. There's been lots of posts there, some poetry and little videos and links that people have found, and lots of pictures about trees. So it's really nice to see you all about using that. And if you haven't used the Facebook group yet, do give it a go, unless you're not on Facebook, of course. But yeah, it's worth checking out because it's quite active, which is nice. Excuse me. Okay, so if you want to talk, guys, raise your hand or pop something in the chat room if there's something you need to say, if you've got a question, and I'll kind of stop my spiel. It's a little bit more informal than the bigger public workshops like this that I do, because I know you guys, and we can have a bit of back and forth if needed, or if anything isn't clear, just ask. And if you've got burning questions, as I said, there will be a Q&A later. So a quick course update. So I've been working on adding lots of new content to the course. In the background, I've been doing a lot of filming. The older buckthorn in autumn video is very close to being released. That's very much almost done. So look out for that very soon. I've also been out on the road. I've been filming strawberry tree, Midland hawthorn, grey poplar, white bean. What's the other one I was doing? Wild plums that I mentioned a moment ago, and the buckthorn as well. So there's buckthorn and older buckthorn, both of which you may see in tonight's workshop. And also there's been some new videos as well in the summer module since I spoke to you last. So English elm has joined the course for expert students, and I'm just waiting for the leaves to turn so I can film the autumn video. That's not turned yet, but English elm, you can look at it in summer and look at the leaf form and everything. That's interesting. And also the buckthorn I mentioned a moment ago, that summer video and gallery and cheat sheet has also gone up. So lots of good stuff there. There's a new version of our summer leaf guide as well. This is our autumn leaf guide. If you haven't got this, I'll send you the link to this, or I'll put it in the Facebook group if you haven't downloaded this already. But there's a summer version of this, which is new with better photos on. If you haven't got that and you want it, drop me a line or tell me in the Facebook group, and I will send the PDF copy over to you so you can see it. So I said use the chat room if you want to interact with us, folks. Yeah, we'll get on with that and see what we get on with. Let's just talk just briefly, remind ourselves, just zone in. Why do leaves fall? Okay, there's 4 big reasons here. Leaves, so we're talking about broadleaf trees here, of course. Leaves damaged by frost open up the tree to infection. So they can avoid that by falling off the tree. Secondly, precious water will be lost through evaporation. As you imagine, there's cold winter winds whipping on the leaves and all that evaporation being caused. Also, leaves can trap snow, which can add a lot of weight to potentially weak branches or weaken branches. And leaves can catch the winter winds, making trees vulnerable to gales as well, especially if they're on unstable ground or exposed. So there's lots of good reasons why leaves fall in autumn on our broadleaf trees. Of course, we get all the beautiful colours as well, don't we? So why do they change colour? Well, before shedding, the tree basically extracts all the nutrients from the leaves, starting with the chlorophyll, which is what gives it its green pigment. And as this happens, the leaves change colour as the other layers are revealed below. So, for instance, you get like pinks and reds with Guelder rose or wild service tree, and those pigments are called anthocyanins. There we go. So they're revealed when the green is drawn, the chlorophyll is drawn back into the tree, all the nutrients from them. And trees like oaks turn brown quickly because they've got a high tannin level. But the colours can be intensified by early frost. And it's interesting, there's a picture of the wayfaring tree there in the middle. That's this one here, and it's really red. Something I've read about in books, like, oh, look out for the wayfaring tree going red in autumn. I've looked at the wayfaring tree for 3 autumns on the run, and I've never seen one go red. I've only looked at 3 or 4 in my area because there's not very many of them about. But it's interesting that, you know, some autumn you don't quite get the show that maybe the textbook tells you. So we always want to look at the whole tree, don't we, when we're doing this tree ID, not just relying on one key feature like leaf color. So, folks, are we ready for a quiz? We're going to do a picture quiz. We always do this 4 times a year with the workshop. We always throw in some new photos as well. These are pictures from the course or pictures I've taken. Hopefully there won't be too many surprises here, or I like to throw in a couple of curveballs. How we work this, don't shout out the answer if you know it, but when I say go, you can put your answer in the chat room and I'll read a few out and we'll see if you get it right. Give everybody a chance to get it right first or have a little look. And if you don't know the answer, that's fine. It's all about learning, isn't it? Let's start with our quiz. Here we go. I've got a couple of pictures here. Now, don't say, folks, in the chat room, but what's going on here? Have we got the same tree? Have we got 2 different trees? What are the 2 things we're looking at here on the left and right? We'll give it a few seconds. And if you think you know, pop it in the chat room. Let's have a little look. Who's going to be first out the gate? So Janet says sweet chestnut. Yep. So what have we got? Sweet chestnut on the left, horse chestnut on the right. That's right, Katie and Emma. Well done. Yeah, lots of you have got that. Sweet chestnut on the left, horse chestnut or the conker tree on the right. Not related, but similar names because they both have these chestnuts, don't they? Sweet chestnuts being edible, conkers definitely not so. Okay, here we go. Picture number 2. What tree have we got here? If you know what it is, don't say. Martin. And so give it a few seconds for people to answer. That's okay. You're very keen. That's okay, Martin. Yeah, older. Everyone's put older. It's the older tree. So the older tree, you've got the round leaf there, which is still hanging on. There's really no show of colour with the older. It's a pretty dirty colour change all around. But you've got a round leaf, and you can see the little cutout at the tip of the leaf. And look, there's those young cones behind, and the catkins too. And also some catkins starting to turn purple as well. So that's the older tree, folks. Okay, keep your answers to yourself, folks. What is this a picture of? An autumn sign. If you think you know, give it a few seconds and then I'll say go and you can put it in the chat room. What seeds have I got here from which tree? Okay, they are small seeds. They're spread by wind. So wind dispersal. Yeah, it's birch. Yeah, Martin, Emma, Davina, Alex, Ian, birch tree. This is one of the birch trees. No idea whether it's silver or downy. They look exactly the same when you look at it like this, but it's a birch tree. So you can see how they're pioneer trees and how those tiny seeds will travel up to 1 kilometer off on the wind and colonize new places. And because they drop so much seed, there's much more likelihood that they're going to make some new trees. The garden does get covered with them, Davina, and they get into, we've been doing campfire cooking recently, and all the seeds just keep falling into the Dutch oven when I open it to check the food. But, you know, they don't do any harm. Okay, I'm not going to tell you what we've got here, folks. Have a little think. And when I say go, you can put the answer or as close as you think the answer is. What tree species is this? Very red leaves and some really strong yellows as well. But that red is quite key. Really beautiful colors you get off this one. It is a native tree. Okay, we've got a few answers coming in now. People are saying cherry or wild cherry. It is the wild cherry. This is the wild cherry tree. Well done, folks. You can see there with those larger serrations on the edge of the leaves there. Okay, folks, what's this? Don't say if you know straight away. Give it a few seconds for people to answer. What is this one? Lovely display of colors again. Okay, Ian, Sabine, Martin are all saying bird cherry. Yeah, anybody else think bird cherry? No, just those guys at the minute. It is the bird cherry. So that's Prunus padus. This is Prunus avium. So there's our two cherries side by side. At first glance, they look similar, don't they? Because they go similar colors, but look at the large serrations of the wild cherry, and then look at the very fine serrations on the edge of the bird cherry. And of course, I'm only giving you one feature here. We'd look at the whole tree, and on the wild cherry, you would see the bark is really quite distinctive. And if you look at the video, you'll know what I mean. Whereas the bird cherry has quite nondescript bark. It does look a little bit like hornbeam. Emma's put that in the chat room. It does look superficial like hornbeam, certainly in its shape. Hornbeam may come up later. We shall see. Okay, don't shout out straight away, folks. If you think you know what this is straight off, let people have a quick look. We've got 4 clues here as to what species of tree we have in autumn. Got some catkins. We've got some nutcases. Hazel leaves. That's right. Hazel leaves. That's it. This is the hazel tree. You can see the hairy hazel, the stem there where my cursor is. There we go. And look at the yellowish leaves, but not a great show, just more mottled in its colors. But interesting to see a bit of variation in the leaf shape as well. But the hazelnuts are one of the key things because they don't fall far from the tree. There's usually plenty of empty nut cases on the ground there. Okay, next one. If you think you know what it is, don't put it in the chat room yet, folks. What's going on here? 4 different colors of berries. Are they all from the same tree? I wonder. Okay, folks, if you think you know what this is, pop it in the chat room. Rowan, if you can expand any more on Rowan, you want to say anything else about what we're seeing, please let us know. They are Rowan. Sue's saying sorbus. Yep, so sorbus is the Rowan, sorbus acuparia. Yeah, Ian said different cultivars. That's right, Sabine as well. Yeah, so here's the native Rowan here in the corner. And these ones are different cultivars. These are all taken in a garden centre. So I took these just to confuse people. You can get Rowan with berries, which are like more to yellow or more to orange out in the wild. And that's just local variation. You can get it. But generally, that deep red colour is what you're looking for. That's what you most commonly find. Bottom left, Sheer is saying is called Kashmiri. Is that the cultivar type of the Rowan? Interesting. I didn't know that. Thanks very much. Okay, here we go. What is going on in the middle of frame here, folks? If you know, give it a second. Let's see what people can get. A lot of green in there, but then this tree that's strikingly yellow, standing out like a sore thumb. It's a broadleaf tree, for sure. It's a good size, certainly not its full height. If you think you know what it is, put it in the chat room. People are saying hornbeam. It is hornbeam. Yeah, this is the hornbeam tree. Goes yellow across the board, the hornbeam. So one that I don't see a lot of in my area up in Northeast Wales, but you see it more in southern Britain. I was just down in Essex for the Forest School Association conference, and there was loads of it everywhere. Whereas up here in Northeast Wales, we don't see too much of it. But yeah, hornbeam, it's a good tree. Lots in Sussex, Alex says. That sounds right to me. It's a tree more of southern Britain generally. There we go, hornbeam. Okay, next one. Oh, lots in Ireland too, Sabine says. Interesting. What's going on here, folks? What are we looking at? Don't shout out straight away. What do you think we have here, folks? We've got a conifer tree with golden needles. Yeah, everybody's saying larch. It is the larch tree. This is the larch. Whoops. There it is. There's the larch close up. The larch is the only real conifer you're going to see in the countryside that turns colour in autumn. The needles drop, and then in winter, it's got no needles on it. So it's an easy beginner's conifer, the larch tree. Not a native, but very commonly planted. Lots more of that in Wales. Is it a dead Christmas tree? Could be. If you're looking at it in winter, David, could be a dead Christmas tree. But often it's a larch. There they are close up. You can see those needles growing in walls there, and the little cones there, and the knobbles all over the larch too. Brilliant. Easy to spot this time of year. Okay, next one. What's going on here, folks? What tree could this be? Ooh. Okay, people have put their answers. Quite a few people saying hornbeam, quite a few people saying beech. This is hornbeam again. I put this in to throw you off, guys, but it's worked for some of you, but not all of you. You can see the yellow coming in there, but this is hornbeam again. Just another example, but look how we've got some slightly different colouring going on here. Remember, look at the shape of the leaf. The shape doesn't change, does it? But the leaf colour can. This is definitely hornbeam. Beech wouldn't look quite like this. Yeah, but you can see the yellow just starting to come in there on that one. There you go, hornbeam, folks. And there it is again, up close. Lovely colours, though. What's this, folks? Interesting. Something with little black berries all over it. Have a look close. This is more difficult, this one. Don't put the answer yet if you know it, folks. Give people a second to really think about it. Have a look at the leaf arrangement. And the state of the leaves, too, considering this is autumn. Okay, there's a few people got it right. Yeah, this is wild privet. Well done, folks, if you got it. Well done, wild privet. Again, not one I see a lot of around me, but you do see it out and about in Midlands and southern Britain. So yeah, Emma said dog rose. Dog rose does have clusters of berries, and it does have opposite leaves. You can see some opposite ones here, but the dog rose would not be this colour now. This is wild privet, which is a semi-evergreen. So I said, look at the state of the leaves, the fact that they're not really turning that much, but it's a semi-evergreen. So it kind of depends on where it is as to whether it will kind of stay green or not. This is the wild privet. There we go. Well done, folks. Here's another one. I've got some samples of leaves here. I'll give you a clue. These leaves are quite big. They're kind of this size. They're not small, tiny triangles, which should eliminate something from what you're thinking. But these are quite big. People are saying poplar. I would say, which poplar? Yeah. Antonia, Davina, Ian have got it right. This is the black poplar, the native black poplar. Does look very similar to the Lombardy poplar leaves. Martin said that. Does look very similar, although they tend to be a bit cleaner in their colours. The our native black poplar tends to be a bit more of a dirty colour change, like a really overripe banana. But these are big, large triangle leaves, and that is our native black poplar tree. Look at the yellow of the leaf stalks as well. That really stands out too. Okay. What's this, folks? That's a big leaf. Look at the size of that one. That goes really kind of banana yellow too. Pretty consistently across the tree as well. It's not hornbeam. It does look like a big hornbeam leaf. Ian says wych elm. Emma says wych elm. Sabine, elm. Yeah. This is a wych elm. It does look a bit like sweet chestnut. Ray's just said that. Sweet chestnut wouldn't so much go this colour and it'd be longer. But yeah, this is wych elm, which is our most common elm now. And it's a very rough leaf when you feel it. Well done, folks. Oh, okay. Here's something. I'm not going to give you any help. What can you see here, folks? Some leaves turning yellow, a little bit of fiery orange as well. Little blackberries. See and look at the leaves. Are they opposite or are they alternate? Those who are looking carefully will see that they're both. Shira is correct. This is older buckthorn. Well done, Shira. 10 tree points. I haven't published this one onto the course yet. So this is one I took the other day. This is older buckthorn. You see, it's sub-opposite. You've got opposite leaves and then slightly alternative leaves. So like the other buckthorns, it is sub-opposite. And the leaves don't have any serrations on them. The leaves generally go really yellow across the board, but I just was a bit early in taking the pictures. But generally, look for the whole thing potentially going yellow as well. Yeah, older buckthorn. Nice one. That's a harder one, folks. I don't expect you to get all that. Oh, that's all of them. There we go. Oh, is it? No, I think there's one more. There's one more. There we go, folks. One more picture for you. Last one. What have we got here? What do you think? Yeah, everybody's coming in with aspen. It is the aspen. Looks similar to the black poplar, doesn't it? Well, they are related, of course. Aspen is a poplar, I should say. And the color scheme is kind of similar, isn't it? But these are aspen with the round leaves with the large teeth on them and very much fluttering in the wind. But look at those same yellow stalks again. Right, folks, that's quite enough of the quizzes for now. Let's go into your questions answered straight away. Well done if you did really well with that. If you didn't do so well, don't worry about it. It's just all about learning. That's what we're here for. If you're new to the course, I don't expect you to get any of them. It's a lot of information at once, but you can try it again in the future and see how you do. Let's go to your questions. There's been lots of questions sent in advance. Firstly, Antonia, welcome. I know you're with us tonight. You sent us this picture and said, what have we got here? That you're on the South Devon coast around Dartmouth. You notice these pines, and the pines had 3 needles. Remember that our native pine, the needles are joined at the base, so they come in pairs. If it's a pair, it's a pine, but not all pines are pairs. So this pine tree had needles in 3s. Okay, I'm going to assume that they were quite long needles as well, Antonia. And basically, they were out on the coast path, which is good because that ticks up another box for me to tell me what you're looking at. Okay, it's a big cone as well. Antonia, just let us know in the chat room, how big is this cone? I suspect it's quite large, but
I can't actually remember. So it was a while ago. I think it was quite big, but I can't remember exactly how big. Yeah.
I would say, it could almost get as big as this pen. They can get pretty big. Yeah, maybe it's small. This is a Monterey pine.
Okay.
There you go, folks. Monterey pine over from California, from the Monterey Peninsula. They do very well in coastal habitats, and they're planted as shelter belt in coastal areas. So that ticks the box, because what Antonia's done there is give me the context as well, which is really important. I have seen there's one in mid Wales. There's probably a few, but one I know in mid Wales has been planted on a nature reserve, and you do see it out and about on country estates. Big old grand tree, Pinus radiata. So the needles come in 3s. It's quite a commonly one planted around the place, but a good one to look out for all around. And the cones are lopsided. You can see in the picture there, they're not even like our Scots pine cone. They're kind of lopsided. They're fat on one side and kind of everything's squashed up on the side there. And they're big. The cones are, a good size. You can, fit a good one in your hands here. And they were brought over by David Douglas of Douglas fir fame. So not just the Douglas fir he's known from. He brought them across and said, I bet these do well. And then he was right. So yeah.
And are they semi-naturalized? Because there were lots and lots of them.
I wouldn't call them naturalized.
No, okay.
But they are very much planted, from what I'm reading, in that area because they do well in coastal winds and they act as windbreak. So I wouldn't call them naturalized, but they've certainly been well planted. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
Lovely stuff though.
Thanks.
Some people call it naturalized, but it's a movable feast. And the cones, interestingly, can stay on the tree for 20 to 30 years. Can just sit on there, which is pretty cool. So there you go, folks. That is the Monterey pine. Let's get into another question. Davina, you were asking a question about veteran trees. And you were asking, well, what is a veteran tree? Well, what classifies what makes a veteran tree? And I thought that was interesting all around. So how do you ensure the tree has a preservation order on it? Okay, interesting. Well, to do that first, how do you ensure it's got a TPO, as it's known, on it? You can check with your local tree officer, with the council. It should be easy enough to contact them. And if there's a tree that you suspect needs protecting, or you want to see if it's got an order on, contact the local tree officer, and he or she will tell you what's going on with it. And if it doesn't have a TPO, you can ask for one to be put on. But let's talk about this. Also, they had another question as well. The oaks don't seem to have any acorns this season. Why would that be? Let's talk about veteran trees first. So there's kind of veteran trees and ancient trees. Okay, so veteran trees are trees which have veteran features. They've been through something. Ancient trees are trees because of their age. Okay, so first of all, how old is an ancient tree? Well, it depends on what species you're talking about, really, is the answer to that, because different tree species live different lengths of time. So an oak tree can, they say it takes 300 years to grow, 300 years to thrive, and 300 years to die. Whereas a birch tree can live for maybe 120, 150 years maximum. So a 120-year-old birch tree would be an ancient birch tree. Whereas, an oak tree, you wouldn't consider it ancient until it was kind of 400 plus, really. So it depends what tree we're talking about. Then a yew tree has to be, I think, 600 to 800 years old before they'll call it ancient. But trees can have veteran features. So it's, what do I want to say here? So, yeah, what's an ancient tree? An ancient tree, basically, what it looks like, and we can see a good example here, it's retrenching generally. So as a tree gets ancient, it tends to get more short and squat, a bit like us, as it reshapes or retrenches itself. It kills off the outer branches and limbs and brings the energy back down to make it more windproof, make it more sturdy, and also because it can't pump all the nutrients up to the far reaches. It's got less wood to work with, really, because, of course, the middle is all rotten out. So a hollow center is a key feature of these old trees, and a wide trunk compared to other trees of the same species. But what is a veteran tree? So that's ancient trees. A veteran tree can be any age, but it's a tree that is showing signs of being a veteran. So it might be the characteristics such as damage, natural damage, or man-made damage, something like that. So ancient trees are all veterans, but not all veterans are ancient. So that's how it works. So yeah, ancient trees are important all around, but not all veterans are ancient. And some people are doing veteranization of trees to kind of kickstart them and give them a bit more of a standing deadwood within themselves to try and help fungi jump over to them and kind of spread fungi around areas where you have really kind of old ancient trees and then kind of middle-aged trees in between, especially with oaks. And this is something that's new that's happening, but it's interesting stuff. There's some nice old trees there. So how do you measure trees as well? So if you want to know about measuring trees and get into that, especially with veterans or ancient trees, what you need to do is you need to measure them with flexible tape, and you measure them at 1.5 meters from the ground. Take the tape round, measure the circumference of the tree, and then do it a couple of times to make sure you slide the tape around and make sure it's not caught on anything there, burrs and that kind of thing. If there's a big burrs and it's a big knobbly tree, kind of take the measurement as close as you can either side of the burr, where you get kind of the natural just shape of the trunk there. And then you can record any measurements on the Ancient Tree Inventory, which is a Woodland Trust website. And if you go onto that, it's a great place to go and find, ancient or veteran trees in your area and champion trees too. It's worth having a look at that website. Just to type in Ancient Tree Inventory into Google and or Ecosia, and you'll find that. So there we go. There's a lovely, beautiful yew tree there. There's the Ancient Tree Inventory. So why don't trees produce acorns every year? Well, oaks specifically. Well, you might have heard of mast years. Okay, so a mast year is when trees, particularly oaks, beech, chestnut, and the horse chestnut, produce a lot of seed. And with beech, you get the beech mast, don't you? There's a few reasons why this happens, and there's a little bit of mystery going on as well. Part of it is due to the weather, to do with the spring preceding it. So kind of a warm, dry spring is a good sign that there's going to be a good crop in the autumn. However, it doesn't mean it's necessarily a mast year. And what it's thought is what trees are doing is that they have years where they don't really produce that much, in order to not provide too much food to the surrounding predators that feed on, for instance, the acorns. And the idea is that the population of the predators will go down because there's not so much food for them. And then the tree will go boom and just knock out a load of acorns, for instance, and absolutely overwhelm the predators. So there's too much food for them to deal with and they can't eat it all. This is called predator satiation. Interesting stuff that the trees can do this. Whether they talk to each other and all coordinate it, this is something we're only just beginning to learn or understand or even dive into. But it's really interesting. There doesn't seem to be a pattern to mast years, as in like, oh, every 5 years will be a mast year. It just seems to be that there are years you get it and years you don't. But the weather also helps with that. But really interesting stuff. Other things can be a climate as well. You talked about an oak tree that didn't have many acorns. It could be that there's some microclimate going on, could be poor soil. The tree could be unhealthy. Could be it's in a little microclimate like a frost pocket. So if it's been affected by a late frost, then those early acorns, those the young developing flowers might have been damaged as well. So there's lots of reasons why you might find an oak tree without any acorns. And if that's happening consistently year after year, then there's probably something up. But have a look in the next few years, go back and visit it, and you might get a mast year where it just explodes. But that's what's going on. And that's why you don't get acorns on trees, or not many acorns on trees every year. Hope that answers your question, Davina. Okay, there's the ancient tree inventory. Next question. David up in Holking wants to know, what tree is this? Okay, I think I might even know where that is, David, or somewhere very much like it. So these trees here are pine trees. These are the Corsican pine, which is a very commonly planted non-native tree over from Corsica. It's in mold. Yep, I think I know where that is. So there we go. And like our Scots pine, they're similar, but they're taller and straighter. You can see how they make good timber for growing. Look at that. Some lovely timber in there. They're nice, clean trunks. But the trunks are dark, whereas our Scots pine have got that reddish ginger tinge to them. Also, if you notice in your picture at the back, look, you can see that needles come in pairs. And they're long needles, about this long, whereas our Scots pine are more like this kind of length. So about twice the length of our Scots pine needles. But that's probably our most commonly planted non-native pine in this country. And they do very well over here. And they're planted for that reason, for the timber. Although, again, shelter belt, like they're being used there. Although I think they've long past that purpose because the wind's going to whip right through those trunks, isn't it? So there you go. But that's the Corsican pine, a very common one to see around the place. Like our Scots pine, but all around darker. Brilliant. Katie, you asked a question about the leaf miner moth that affects the horse chestnut trees, wanting to know a little bit more about it. This is a common sight that we see with the horse chestnuts at this time of year where, they're one of the first trees to go brown and turn, and we'll mention that a little bit later on, but they all curl up and they just don't look well at all, do they? But this isn't natural. This is the leaf miner moth that's doing it, or rather the larvae of the moth here. You're asking about will this contaminate like the soap I want to make from the leaves or from the conkers? No, it won't at all. Not a problem. What I would say is if you want to make soap from the leaves of conker trees, you want to do that earlier in the season when the leaves are young. It's not so good now. They're all dry and crinkly and horrible. But if you do it when they're first out, they're lush and you get much more kind of like sudding out of them. So I would do it much earlier in the season personally. But it won't affect them having the leaf miner. The leaf miner is everywhere. It's pretty endemic now. We're not going to get rid of it. But how does it work? So it's the larvae of a little moth. There we go. Is that there? Yeah. Oh, sorry. There's the signs of it. You can see the little tracks it makes as a little larvae travels through the leaf and makes these little trails. It's basically eating all the good stuff of the inside of the leaf and leaving just the skeleton left. And you can see how that's kind of turning the leaves brown before their time. This area is really affected, and this one has got the larvae probably in it now. But here it is. Oh, is it going to change? I'm just seeing if my computer's going to change. There it is. Okay, folks. There's the larvae, the tiny little larvae there. It's only very, very small. And there's the moth. The moth is only about 4 or 5 mil across. And as you can see, it's got these lovely black and white chevrons against orange wings there. But, you know, I've not seen one myself, but they are about. And what they do is they lay their eggs. The female lays about 180 eggs on the leaf in the spring. They hatch. The larvae eat the inside of the leaves. And then when they're mature, they become moths and go down to the leaf litter. Well, they go down to the leaf litter and they mature, become moths, go around in the spring and lay their eggs again. It goes round and round in a cycle. David asked, do they move to other trees? Not that I'm aware of. I haven't seen anything that I've read that says that. It may be true, but I've not seen it myself, which is good. I mean, hopefully they've got enough food, so that's good. Katie.
Sorry. Once they've got that on there and they're eating the tree's chlorophyll and things on the leaves, do they ever leave the tree?
Leave the tree?
Yeah, no. Is that it then? Because they don't kill the tree, do they? They weaken it.
They weaken it.
But they don't ever. That's it then. They're there forever, or do they?
Well, they whether they would move. Well, they must lay their eggs on the surrounding trees somewhere because they have to go around the place. It would be only on the horse chestnut. It's one of the reasons why it's thought it's got into this country is that because of the moving of leaf litter and things around the country as time's gone on, you know, through lorries or whatever to transport and bad biosecurity, but also maybe through infected saplings that have been imported from the continent. So it's thought that's how it's got here. It's been here since the 70s, but only really started to be recorded in the early 2000s. But no, their life cycle just goes around the tree and in the leaf litter like that. But I imagine if there was a horse chestnut next door, they might go, let's lay some eggs over there. And, you know, you need a few for that to work. But yeah, that's how it works. And you know, when you see it, they don't weaken it. Sorry, they don't kill the tree, they weaken it. But what it means is that things like bleeding canker can then get into the tree because it's already weak and that can kill the tree. So they put it in a pretty bad state. But yeah, it's here to stay, unfortunately. Yeah. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Right. Anything else you want to know? Yeah, okay. Good stuff. Does the older beetle do the same to older trees? It does defoliate them, doesn't it? Alex is just asking in the chat. We get a lot of older beetle here in Northeast Wales. There's tons of it around. But the site that we work at has about 80% older, and there are older leaf beetle absolutely everywhere, and the alders aren't dying. The leaves aren't crinkling up, and the alders are doing just fine. So I would say they seem to be able to take it. Seem to be doing just fine. You just get a lot of leaves with holes in them, but they don't seem to be affecting the older population as far as I can see. Okay, let's go on to the next little bit. I think there's some more pictures here. I was talking too much. Computer's being a little bit slow. I'm turning over. You see that, folks? There we go. There's the big old leaf. And you can see those brown leaves from a distance on the horse chestnut. Okay, Davina again, asking a question about maples. Trying to tell the difference between Norway maple, sycamore, and field maple. Well, Norway maple is the most common non-native maple, bar the sycamore, which is naturalized, that you're going to see planted. There are a lot of other maples out there, and I'm not going to go into them because I don't cover them and don't know enough about them. But Norway maple and field maple are the three you really need to concern yourself with. Here's the three leaves in autumn. Field maple, much smaller and rounded lobes, a smaller tree, goes pretty consistently yellow across the whole tree, but like the hornbeam. Sycamore, much bigger leaves, tends to have the black tar spot fungus, but not always, and doesn't really give much of a show. Can go a bit yellow, but generally goes a bit dirty, really, then just falls off. Whereas the Norway maple, up in the top left, is as big as the sycamore, but much more dramatic, much more pointy edges on its lobes there, and has a lovely show of colour as well. Some lovely yellows, gold, and reds as well, as we'll see. If it's giving a good show of colour, it's not one of our maples, unless it's all yellow. Here you go. Here's the what's it called? The Samaras, the winged sea cases side by side of the three. This is the field maple on the left. Look how the wings are generally out like this, whereas the wings of the sycamore are more down, as you can see. Not massively bigger than the field maple, those wings, but they will get a little bit bigger. These were taken in the summer, so they're not fully mature. But look at the Norway maple on the right here, much bigger than the sycamore, and big, fatter, much fatter wings on them all round. They're big, chunky helicopters, those ones on the Norway maple, much bigger all round. That's what you're looking for. So get to know the sycamore and then see these side by side. And I always say the Norway maple is the sycamore turned up to 11. And here's a couple of pictures of Norway maple colour taken at our forest school a couple of years ago. And you can really see some beautiful colours there that the kids found. If you're seeing colours like that, it's not sycamore or field maple, it's something else. And these are Norway maple, which there were quite a lot of at our old forest school space. So there you go. That's the three main maples that I would concern yourself with. If you start wandering around people's gardens or a Japanese garden, then you're on your own. So I'm not going to help you. Okay, folks, that's enough questions for the minute. As usual, I'm running out of time, but let's do some stuff. Let's talk about some other trees that I've not mentioned too much in autumn and what they're doing. Firstly, the buckthorn. I mentioned this earlier, not the older buckthorn, the buckthorn, otherwise known as purging buckthorn. Again, a tree I don't see too much in my area, but one you may well see more of down south. Again, there was a lot of it down in Essex where I was just through the weekend. It has thorns, unlike the older buckthorn. The leaves start to go a bit yellow. They're not a brilliant show, not really clean like the older buckthorn, but there is yellow there. And those small little black berries. When the berries are younger, even younger, and they're kind of in summertime, they're green. And then they go to this black color. And they ripen in September, October. They're ripe now. There's a reason they're called purging buckthorn. Don't eat them. These have a laxative effect and probably make you vomit as well, folks. So not to be eaten. But you can squash them, and I'll show you what happens when you do that. There's the berries there. Yeah, nice berries. And look, also, you can see again the color of the leaves. Not much to shout about there. A bit of yellow, but not a huge show off them. It's a small shrubby tree, this one. If you squash the berries, they'll really turn your fingers purple. Make sure you wash your hands afterwards, though, folks. You don't want to be licking your fingers with these. But yeah, they really do stain your fingers purple with the buckthorn. And remember, look for thorns, and the leaves have a serrated margin. Here's two yellowish ones I found, but a finely serrated margin. Whereas the older buckthorn has a complete or simple margin and has no thorns, despite its name. Confusing, I know. That's the buckthorn. Let's have a look at the limes briefly. We've got a small leaf lime, the large leaf lime, and the common lime. They all pretty much do the same thing in autumn, so we can bundle them all together, really. There's no particular sign that one's going to show in autumn that tells you it's one of the three. It's all the stuff we've already talked about in winter and summer. But in terms of the show, you can see a small leaf lime here up on the Welsh hillside, starting to turn yellow. And that's what I would say with limes generally. It's that colour that you're looking out for. I mean, there's one there giving a little bit of a kind of a rainbow show there, but generally yellow seems to be the colour they turn all round. It's not an amazing show all over. That's the common lime though, a little bit more colour to it all round, as you can see, and a little bit cleaner than our small leaf lime. And there's the common lime again, giving much more stronger show than the small leaf lime all around. But the interesting thing is as well, you've got these guys, the bracts. Remember those other leaves on the lime, which were kind of a light lime green colour, strangely, against the darker green of the leaves? Well, now they're turning brown. And those brown banana-shaped leaves really do stand out against the green or yellowing leaves as well. So you've still got those two tones and two textures or forms that we see with the lime. It's just the colours are changing and swapping. So that's what we're looking out for with lime trees at this time of year. And of course, the flowers have matured into these little seeds now as well. There's a small leaf lime, same thing again. Not so much yellow, but definitely those brown bracts now and the mature seeds. Did I explain why they're this shape? It's awesome. So the rain runs down here, and when these are in flower, these want to stay nice and dry. So the rain runs down like a little slide and goes down here instead of traveling off towards the bottom here. It takes the easiest path of least resistance, which keeps the flowers nice and dry, which is pretty cool, isn't it? There you go, another small leaf lime. White beam, here we go, white beam again, one I don't see much of around me, more kind of formally planted in towns and stuff around here, but you might see it more down south. It's not a super common native tree. You're looking for these clusters of larger kind of oval berries. It's a sorbus, so it looks a bit like a rowan, because that's a sorbus too. The leaves are very different, but the berries are very similar, just larger all round. Janet says birds love the berries where she sees them. That's interesting, because in the books I was reading, it was saying how a lot of birds struggle to eat them because they're so big, but thrushes and things do go for them, which is interesting. The smaller birds maybe just peck at them a bit, which means they stay on the tree a little bit longer. But really big show of large red berries. Apparently they are edible once they've started to rot, but I've never seen any wild food books talking about them, so I probably wouldn't bother, folks. The leaf can be quite variable, sometimes more ovular, sometimes more kind of lobed like this one. But there's the berries up close, and not much of a show of colour there. These berries are ripe in September. That's when they're at their best. They're kind of on their way out now. They're looking really good there, really nice. And they're, good sized berries all around. Here's some I took the other day though, and you can see this is why they're called white beam. Here's the underside of the leaf down here, and even in autumn they're still white underneath. Not all of them are, but a lot of them still have this white show, which when the wind hits them in summer, it suddenly shows white. But look, generally we're getting yellow with them. It's not a great yellow show again, but we are generally getting yellow all around. And there's the berries hanging on the tree there in autumn. That's what we're looking out for, like large rowan berries in clusters. There's a really nice picture. I didn't take that one, but I saw that of a white beam, and I thought I'm going to show you that one. Generally, I don't see them that clean with their colour, but because it is white beam, I thought I'd share it with you just to show there is, of course, variation. But there are quite a few different white beams out there, folks. We just bundle them into one as our native. There they are. That's much more commonly what I see. Bit of a dirty show of them all around. But there they are, white beam. The wayfaring tree. I mentioned this earlier. This is the tree that's supposed to go beautiful red in autumn. But over 3 years of studying it, I've not seen any of them go red. And I've looked in a few places too. So is that just because of the weather these last few years? Maybe. Or who knows? If you see a wayfaring tree going red, please take some pictures up close and far away for me. That'd be awesome. But I haven't seen it. But it's not an absolute key feature, I would say. I'd say these berries are much more key. Can you see how they're red and black on the tree at the same time? Excuse me. And they're flattened too. They're not really round like the like you get with the dogwoods or the buckthorns. They're much more flattened. There we go. Well, Vicky says her local ones have some red leaves. I'll post pictures. Brilliant. Hey, Vicky, post the leaves. Put them in an envelope. I'll take some studio pictures of them. That'd be great. I'd love that. But yeah, they just don't go red near me. I don't know why. But there you go. But these red and black berries together at the same time are really key. The red ones are unripe, the black ones are ripe, but you do get them at the same time. Those black and red spots there in the hedgerow, which really makes the wayfaring tree stand out. And there's the leaf, not a hugely distinctive leaf, but it is quite furry to feel, and they have a kind of a cup-like shape to them. There's the berries looking really striking with red and black there. So, again, a tree that melts into the background a lot of the year, but at this time, look for those red and black of the wayfaring tree. Very flexible twigs as well. It's a small shrubby tree, this one. What's next? Let's have a look. Computer's just taking a minute. Oh, there we go. Wayfaring tree again. Yeah, red and black berries. That's consistent. Oh, here we go. I stole these pictures off the internet, folks, because I couldn't find any red ones, but that's what it's supposed to look like. So, Vicky, thank you very much. But I set you guys on that mission. Find me a red wayfaring tree this autumn if you can. I'll send you something in the post if you send me some great pictures. There we go. Challenge set. Wild pear. Okay, lovely wild pear, which looks very much like a crab apple. The pears are very round, but if you bite into them, you'll feel that pear-like, that slightly gritty texture that you get with pears, but it's definitely not an apple when you bite into it. Not particularly great pear by any means. The cultivars are much better, but it's our pear. It's our wild pear, so we should be proud of it. But there they are. That's early autumn there. The fruits actually aren't really ready properly until later in the autumn. They really need to kind of soften off a bit first. More like kind of October to November. That's what we're looking at. And there they are on the tree. A much glossier leaf as well than the crab apple all round. They really do look like crab apples, don't they? But those are wild pears. Now the leaf color change, and that's what we're going to be looking at next. See there, those have almost got a slight pear shape to them. Do you see? A lot of them are just round, but you do find some like that. And who knows, you know, that could be because a little bit of cultivated pear has got in there when it's been pollinated. We don't know for sure. But wild pear isn't a fixed thing. There's a little bit of variation here or there. You're going to see stuff in the woods that looks almost like a common pear, like a more like what you buy in the shops, but smaller, more pear-shaped. So you see everything in between, but generally the pure wild pear is actually round. Again, bite into it and try it, and you'll see it's got that gritty texture. It's not an apple. But look at these leaves. The leaves do turn a nice colour. You do get a bit of a red display on them as well with the wild pear. Not always, but this is what I saw this autumn when I took these this year in Gloucestershire. And we've got some very red leaves showing on the wild pear here, really quite standing out from the crowd. There you go. Lovely deep colours of the wild pear. You don't get that with crab apple. So that's really interesting to see. What have we got next? Let's have a little look. Midland Hawthorn. Lovely Midland Hawthorn. Last year I had to borrow photos of Joyce, but this year I've got it. There it is. The Midland Hawthorn. Everything that applies to common hawthorn applies to Midland hawthorn in terms of autumn, in terms of the colours, when the berries are coming out, the general look of the berries. The main difference is what we saw in summer first, which is the shape of the leaf. Look at this. This one here where my cursor is absolutely textbook Midland hawthorn with its upswept lobes. There's 3 of them and they're more rounded. Whereas with the hawthorn, there tends to be 5 lobes and they're more jagged. Whereas the Midland hawthorn, it's like a quieter, softer hawthorn. We've turned the common hawthorn down to 5 and made it something that's a little bit quieter and softer. But the berries are interesting. What you have to do is you have to go and do some investigating. You need to get some of the berries, or haws as they're known, and break them open or squash them open. You can't see it very clearly there, but what you should hopefully find are 2 seeds or stones, not 1. Common hawthorn has 1 stone. Midland hawthorn should have 2. And I say 2 because they don't always, which is very true, which is what I found over the past few years. And this is because pure Midland hawthorn does, but the hawthorns hybridize, a bit like willows do. And the common hawthorn genes, where the hawthorn only has 1 stone, is more dominant than the Midland hawthorn. So there is thoughts that the Midland hawthorn is actually being bred out of existence. So it's a tree we need to protect and plant around the place, really. But yeah, it should have 2 little seeds inside. Look across the whole tree, because I found ones where quite a few of them had 2 and then quite a few only had 1. So look consistently, look at about 20 different berries, squash them and see what you see. I also found the berries higher up were more reliable for 2 stones than the ones lower down. That was only on a couple of trees. I can't tell you that's consistent, but look across the tree. But everything else that applies to common hawthorn applies to this, but it's interesting to see it. 2 stones or seeds, not 1 inside. But the leaf is more reliable as an overall ID. Interesting stuff. Check any suspicious hawthorns near you. This is a picture that Joyce took last year. And it's really nice because she got pictures of the seeds there. And you can see here's the common hawthorn with slightly larger stones, and the Midland hawthorn below, where there's 2 stones in each one. And there they are there. You can see them there. She's doing a good job of cleaning them off. So there's the 2 stones of the Midland hawthorn. Oh, David says he's got 2 of them. They even have berries. You've got 2 Midland hawthorn up the road, and I had to go to Gloucestershire to photo mine. Thanks, David. Only joking. It's fine. I might come up and see him, David. That'd be interesting. I might be in touch about that. There they are there with their leaves, which are their key feature this time of year. Wild privet. We looked at this earlier in the quiz. You're looking for these berries. They really dye the hands purple again, much like the buckthorn. Really just go purple when you squash them. It's quite good fun. You can make some paint kits with this stuff, but they're a little bit toxic, the berries, so don't lick it, folks. But a semi-evergreen, as you can see, these ones are doing pretty well. Still looking quite evergreen. Because they're semi-evergreen, sometimes the leaves fall, sometimes they don't. The garden privet, which comes from Japan, which is much more kind of common in formally planted areas, is true evergreen. That's one of the reasons why it's used in hedges, because you get that evergreen cover all year. Our wild privet are semi-evergreen. But look at the way that the berries are all on a cluster at the terminal end of the twig, aren't they? Rather than kind of scattered throughout the twig like you get more with buckthorns. There they are again. Opposite leaves there on that one. I think they might be sub-opposite with the this one anyway. But I took this picture of my garden. I have lots of miniature trees from around the country in my garden, and this is a wild privet, and this one is going purple. So these leaves are going to drop. There are some green leaves, you can just see it at the side there, but there's some going purple, and these ones at the back are from the same tree. So again, semi-evergreen, you can get a show of purple with privet as well. So I thought you'd like to see that. Folks, we're going to run out of time, aren't we? As usual, I've run over. Let's talk briefly about which trees fall first and last, and we'll skip the tree foraging for now. Oh, there's a little person in here. Hello, little person. I'm broadcasting to the nation.
Look at my wings.
This is Baron, everybody. Hi, Baron.
What are you doing?
I'm talking to people, and we haven't got long, so I've got to carry on. Is that okay?
Yes.
Thanks very much. That's very kind. There's my little boy. He hasn't got any clothes on tonight, folks. There we go. Right, just briefly. There's a little mirror in here. He's going to look at himself in the mirror now. I'm going to carry on, folks. He is cute, Alex. You're right. Except at 4 in the morning when he wakes up. Now, early dropping leaves. Here we go. This is the elder, one of the first to drop its leaves. Hello. This is the elder tree. You can see it's really going purple, and it goes yellow as well. One of the first to drop its leaves. Also, one of the first for leaves to come out as well. So, a good one to know. This is the rowan. Also, a pretty early one to drop its leaves.
I'm not.
Oh, Baron, I think I might have to kick you out in a minute. We'll see.
I want to sit in my chair.
He wants to sit in his chair. I'll let him sit in his chair, folks. Go on. You sit there. And I can talk to folks. There you go. Up you get. There you go, little one. Okay. Right. Okay. This is the rowan, folks. This is a one in a garden centre. No, I need that. You can't touch that. I need that. Sorry, Baron. That's got my notes on it. So this is from a garden centre, this one, folks. And notice how it's gone particularly red. That isn't common with rowan, but I took a picture of it last autumn. Just thought it was interesting to see. Rowan don't really do that display. It's more of a mixed bag all around. You can play with this.
Oh.
It's a calculator. Okay. Here's what you see with rowan kind of getting into this time of year now. They go bare fairly quickly, especially in upland areas, of course, because they're exposed to the winds. So if you're looking across the kind of more of an upland landscape and you see this form, close twigs, all kind of upswept and bare branches, it's most likely a rowan tree. So that's another early faller. And the berries do hang about as well through the winter. You do get them hanging around. So there it is there in late autumn. There's a rowan tree in the landscape looking exactly as I said. Okay. Ash, also one of the first to lose its leaves, one of the last to come into leaf, and one of the first to lose its leaves, especially with ash dieback, of course, as well. That's playing a factor. But they do that naturally as well. They do naturally lose their leaves early. You can see them turning there. No display of colour with ash. They just go brown and fall. But this is a nice picture because it really demonstrates that. You can see how most of the trees around it are all still in leaf. There's a hazel in the foreground. So the ash has lost all its leaves, pretty much. And that's what you kind of start to see now. You look in the landscape, no, you can't touch that. And you can see that it's gone bare in the landscape. So this is where that tree ID from a distance really comes into play. There they are, all on the floor. There you go. And if you press that, it resets. There we go. There's your ash leaves. I'll wrap up quick, folks, because we've got company now. There's the horse chestnut. We've talked about this already. Again, an early one to turn brown. This is the only favour the leaf miner does us. It tells us that we've got a horse chestnut from a distance pretty early in autumn, even in the back end of summer. But yeah, that's consistently what we're looking at with the horse chestnut. Not looking well at all. And there's that bleeding canker that I mentioned earlier that can get into the tree once it's weakened. You can see it there, and that tree will not live. That's going to go. Unfortunately, it's a shame. It's a beautiful old one on the National Trust estate. There we go. Horse chestnut leaves. Beech. We're looking at the leaves that fall later now. One is the beech. Lots of tannins in there, so you get some lovely browns. This is falling later and gives a lovely display of colour, doesn't it? Yellows and gold and, you know, beech, copper beech colours as well. Beautiful stuff all around. It is a late turner, so you're going to see this one of the best for our kind of spectrum of colour across the autumn. Oh, what have you done there?
I'm showing.
It's okay, you didn't mean to do it. There's lovely yellows there and golds of the beech tree. Beautiful stuff all around. Emma loves walking through beech trees in autumn, through beech trees, amongst beech trees. If you walk through them, you must teach me that trick. Beautiful colours on the beech tree. Lovely stuff all around. And then in winter, those leaves hang around. And let's have a look. It is working. There you go. There's the numbers. So the beech leaves do hang around in the winter as well, especially on the young trees, not on the older ones. That's a good sign to look out for. And then oaks, of course. Oaks, one of the last trees to lose their leaves. They hang around. And on the young specimens, you can see them holding onto their leaves again. You're seeing on that one on the left, this one here, that's a sessile oak. But they do give a lovely kind of golden show of colour. It's one of our key features in the landscape. But again, holding onto their leaves a bit longer in autumn, whereas the ash are well gone by this point. So it's a good thing to look out for, folks. There you go. There's an oak with a lovely oak gall on it. We're going to skip trees to forage. We'll have to talk about it another time, so we're running out of time, folks. But just before I do a little bit of open Q&A, if anyone wants to stay, I just want to let you know, if you guys are interested in wild food, and there's lots of stuff there, there's a medlar kimchi recipe. We've still got a wild food course. If you guys haven't joined it, it's like tree course, but for wild food. And we're currently doing it at half price this month. There's Baron. This is this little boy a couple of years ago. There he is. Looking a bit smaller. There's you, Baron. Can you see?
Yes.
With all our syrups. You had no hair. Okay, I'll just get to this. So if you're interested, guys, in joining the wild food course, if you're not on it yet, it's currently half price. Here it is. Half price this month only. And if you're interested, drop me a line or I'll post a link on the Facebook group. It's half price, 50% off. If you're interested, you'd like to join it, drop us a line. We'll do, and you can join the course at half price. There's loads of videos and cheat sheets and all kinds of photos and stuff on it as well. Lots of good stuff there, and videos of each month. You can look at what to forage this month in October. There's Baron again. And loads of recipes on there too. Lots of good stuff to make, including our boozy berry chocolates, which you can see there, which are great for Christmas. They are boozy, but you can't have them. And there's lots of other things too, mushrooms and berries and all kinds.
Why not boozy?
They're boozy because they've got booze in them.
Why
Lots
not?
of people on there as well. Lots of guest speakers on our wild food course as well, not just us, from all over the world of trees, bushcraft, foraging, and other good places. And loads of photos too. Some will be a little bit familiar, like the sweet chestnut there. Our next one of these as well, folks. Here's a date for your diary. 23rd of January next year is our winter version of this. 7:30. That's a funny noise. 23rd of January at 7:30, folks. Put it in your diary. That's everything for now. I'm going to stay on for 5 minutes for anyone who's got a burning question. I'm happy to do that. And stay on with folks. If you have a burning question, we can ask it now. I'm just answering some questions and then I'm going to be with you. Okay. There's lots of people here. Can you see? Let me show you. So if you have a burning question, folks, we'll answer that now. For those that have to go, that's fine. Sally has said, I've just started to learn. Just wanted to say, how do you tell the difference between beech and hornbeam? Okay. So beech and hornbeam, beech are glossier. Beech don't have the strong kind of serration that hornbeam have. They're less ribbed. But at this time of year, the seeds are very different. Whereas beech have the beech mast, which look like little kind of eggs, little kind of spiky eggs that open up like this with kind of 4 petals like this and drop the triangular beech nuts. And you find then the mast on the floor. Hornbeam have seeds which look like kind of toilet brushes hanging off the branch. All with 3 little wings like this. They're a bit like the helicopters of maples, but with 3 wings. They look like dinosaur feet. That's what we say with kids. And they're hanging in bunches. And they start off green, and they go yellow in autumn, and they go brown. So the seed, the real better key difference, thank you, Baron, than the leaves, folks. Okay. Okay. Vicky's got a hand up. What's your question, Vicky?
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Oh,
Hello, I can hear you.
yeah. Hi. Yeah, I was just wondering about the factors that influence the size and abundance of fruit and nuts on different trees, which is a kind of fairly broad question. But just because last autumn I was looking at the local sweet chestnuts, so there's masses of them within about 20 minutes walk of where I live, all different ages and sizes, and I collected a few from different trees. Most of them had quite small nuts. But there were some I found that were the size of the chestnuts that you could buy from the supermarket, and it was from a tiny tree just
Yeah.
by the roadside. And I wondered whether I'd read that, kind of the amount of light that the tree gets, can be a significant factor. And obviously it's not competing with anything else, but it was absolutely loaded, and chestnuts were all huge. And all the others, like really, really, like massive mature trees, only had the tiny nuts.
Yes. He's saying, don't shush me. So, yeah, I think it comes back to what we were talking about mass years earlier. There are a lot of factors at play, whether it's the weather preceding the year in the spring to see how many of the flowers were actually pollinated. So they go to fruit, whether there were any late frosts. There are bumper years, bumper crops of fruits, as well as the nuts, aren't they? They don't refer to them as much as a mass year, but you certainly get good years for apples and not, don't you? So there's a lot going on. Microclimates, how healthy the tree is, how much light it's getting, as you mentioned. There are so many factors. People aren't sure, to be honest. But yeah, you do get good years and bad years. And the sweet chestnuts I find particularly variable because sweet chestnuts aren't from here. They've been introduced by the Romans. So they like a warmer climate. So that's why the nuts here are a little bit unreliable. But certainly I found some lovely ones on a tree and then loads of rubbish ones, which are no good at all. So there does seem to be a very variable feast. So yeah, there's so many factors at play at it. So yeah, but it's interesting just here that you're seeing so much variation as well. Interesting.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mickey. Anybody else before we sign out and I put this little person to bed? Katie, last question. Let's go for it.
Hi, I'm going hopefully to Westonbirt soon, so I just wondered on your opinion on anything particular to see when I'm there.
Okay, I know Westonbirt very well now because I've been there a lot. I would go see the Midland Hawthorn because they're looking really good. There's a standard Midland Hawthorn at the far. What I would do if you go into Westonbirt, go on to type in Westonbirt. Is it called Arboretum Finder? I will put the link to the website in the Facebook group, and they have an Arboretum Finder where you can print out their map and you can type in any species of tree you want to see, and it will tell you exactly where it is and save you wandering around. And it's really accurate as well. It's very good. So I've used that to be able to go and visit different trees. Interestingly, they don't have all the native British trees. They only have one white beam. They have no cracked willow. There's a lot of things they don't have. There's a lot of amazing things they do. But the Midland Hawthorn, I'd certainly visit. I'll send you that link. The wild pear is a lovely example there.
Do they have an English elm?
Yeah, but it's a really bad example. They've got one. I've been to see it, and all the leaves are right up in the air. No, it's a lovely tree, but it's bad for ID because everything's up there. There's no lower branches on it, so basically you're just looking at the trunk. It's also not labelled. They've kept it a little bit secret, but if you use the Arboretum Finder, you can find it. So yeah, not a great one for English elm. But yeah, I'll send you the link if you go in there, and that's really good because you can just type in any tree species and look for it, and you'll find it.
Thank you.
Okay, no worries. Right, folks, I better go. I better put this little person to bed. Should we say bye, Baron? Can you say bye-bye? I'll say bye-bye. Bye for now, folks.
Bye.
And see you all very soon. If you find the red leaves the wayfaring tree, take some pictures or send me some in the post. That would be awesome. Thanks, folks. Thanks for your time. Happy tree hunting. I'll see you in January. And don't forget about the wild food course, half price if you're interested, folks. Happy tree hunting. Good luck and thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. Good night. Bye-bye.